it's time for us to have a conversation with our friends from Farabambo. Now, the fisheries conversation is a very important one. Nana Kweigya has joined us. He's going to help us to get into this particular conversation regarding the issue of having too many vessels and other ways of fishing, and putting too much of a burden on our fish load within the seas around us, and how it is that we can manage this a bit better and create a more sustainable fishing culture. Good morning, Nana Kweigya.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine by God's grace.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so talk to us about the situation that we find ourselves, the current situation that we find ourselves in terms of capacity and the sometimes overfishing that is actually going on.
Yeah, thank you and good morning to your viewers. Ghana's marine fisheries faces a lot of challenges, and one of them is overcapacity. And that is to say that the efforts at harvesting the fish far exceed the desired level.
Okay.
So in more simple terms, we have so many canoes, we have so many vessels, we have so many fleets, let me put it that way. And once you have so many fleets, more than the desired level, then it means the rate at which you are harvesting the fish exceed the rate at which the fish reproduce. So for instance, if you have, let's say, 10 fishes in the sea, and every year it increases by 1, but every year you harvest more than 1, then it means at a point in time you are depleting the resource. And that is the problem that we have in Ghana's fisheries now. Now, scientific data has suggested that the current fleet that we have should be reduced by as much as 60%. So that tells you,
wow,
we have a big issue to address. How do we reduce the current fleet by as much as 60%? And if we are unable to reduce the current fleet by as much as 60% within appropriate time, then it means the resource is in danger. That is why, our bumper season is July, August, September. But this July, August, September, go to every fishing community. We didn't make catch. People went for fishing expedition, came with nothing or very little fish.
Okay, so let's look at it from this perspective. I know that your efforts are to look at a grand plan that will basically manage the system a bit better and everything else. Question I have is it not possible for us to include in this plan, I don't know if you already have or not, but try to move the people a bit more away from the fishing at sea, and rather do maybe more of fish farming? Is that a strategy we are looking at possibly?
Yeah, that has been one of the strategies as far as the Fisheries Management Plan 2015-2019 was concerned. Look, you have to take some people out of marine fishing. So there should be incentives. When you read the Fisheries Management, I think page 14 thereabout or so, you see that they were talking about the need for provide some incentives and supports for some fishermen to go into aquaculture. By so doing, you are reducing the effort and the capacity at marine fisheries. The most unfortunate thing is that we had a beautiful fisheries management plan that was supposed to be implemented from 2015 to 2019. But midway, it was abandoned.
Wow. Okay.
And
what seems to be the problem?
Well, what some people say is that the various stakeholders, in the fisheries, we have the artisanal fishers, we have the semi-industrial and the industrial. So the various stakeholders, after agreeing to some specific strategic actions, later on, turn against the very actions. You know, once you are doing this, it will not serve the interest of
everyone.
So people started, backtracking from what we actually agreed on. That is what some people say. But what I say is that it is the lack of commitment.
Lack of commitment.
Lack of commitment.
Okay.
Because if we have sat down, you have done consultation, we have come to agree to some specific actions that should be taken to restore our marine fisheries, then why should people say no? And in any case, we have laws and regulations that govern our marine fisheries. And whatever actions that were, itemized in the fisheries management plan were in line with the fisheries laws and regulations.
Okay.
So the regulator should go ahead to enforce the laws and the regulations that regulate marine fisheries. And once you begin to enforce the law, then the issue and the issue about the practices that actually deplete the resources will be resolved.
Okay.
So yes, they are saying the stakeholders were complaining, but the point is that, are we in normal times as far as our fisheries is concerned? No. The resource is fast depleting.
We are in danger, yes, of completely wiping it out.
Yes. And so if we have all come to agree to certain specific actions that should help to rebuild the resource, to save the industry, there should be that will, that commitment to enforce so that we will address that issue. So that is what was done.
What are some of the strategies for reducing the situation of overcapacity, as you mentioned earlier? What are some of the strategies that we put in place?
There are a number. Overcapacity issues have different dimensions. So you also need to adopt multifaceted approach in addressing it. In the Fisheries Management Plan 2015-2019 that I earlier mentioned, there were some specific actions, strategic actions that apply to, for instance, industrial vessels. That apply to artisanal fishermen, canoes. The issue, in the case of industrial vessels, there was the need to remove the non-performing vessels from the register. Those who are committing fisheries infraction, there was the need to revoke the license that has been given to them. By so doing, you reduce the number. There was the need to reduce the days that they spend on the sea for expedition. There was the need to increase the duration for the closed season. In the case of artisanal canoes, there was the need to continue with the registration so that we get a proper data on how much canoes do we have and how much people are involved in artisanal fishing. There was a need to limit new entry. Another thing was to increase the 1 day in the week, one holiday in the week. In fishing, artisanal fishing, Tuesday
days off.
Yes,
a day off.
There was the need to increase it to 2. To reduce the effort. So all these things were mentioned, which it was agreed that it will help to reduce the capacity that we have. Unfortunately, because this plan was abandoned midway, we were not able to implement it to the fullest. Notwithstanding, the regulator, the Fisheries Commission, has begun the process of preparing another comprehensive fisheries management plan, which I want to commend the Commission for that. Because we cannot have a fishing season without a management plan.
But what about, so a new management plan? I mean, the old plan seems to have been a good enough comprehensive plan. Why not just continue with that and just implement? Times have changed and things have changed. If indeed some stakeholders raise issue about some of the strategic actions, then there's a need for us to engage, revise those actions that were agreed on. We cannot have it
just, one time, restore everything.
Yeah.
It is a process, and it will take a time. So we need to do this kind of engagement and consultations and agree on some specific actions that can be taken.
If you look back to the experience that you had from 2015, when initially they were being implemented, which of them would you say were more successful than others?
The close season,
okay.
The industrial, the close season, extending the close season, I think was done, with the canoes, artisanal fishers. The registration of canoes were also started.
Okay.
So if it had been continued, by now we would have gotten data on the number of canoes and the number of people who are involved in fishing. And then planning becomes a little bit easier. Yeah.
What are some of the strategies that people kicked against? What are some of the main ones that you found that the majority of people were kicking against?
I think that one the Fisheries Commission will have to speak to that. That why were you not able to implement this plan? What were the challenges? Even when the period was over, we find it that stakeholders should have met to evaluate, assess what actually went wrong. And that one too, some of us did not hear about it. Probably the Fisheries Commission maybe did their own assessment of the implementation of the Fisheries Management Plan. And maybe in due time they may share some of these reports with us. But things are not
the way
as
they
it should be. It should be. There should be some level of transparency. The issue about the number of vessels, even fishing in Ghana, is shrouded in secrecy. Because it's become difficult to even know the number of vessels that we have. And if indeed we have more than necessary vessels, and we don't even know the number of vessels that we have, because they will tell you the number is between 78, 80 vessels. And I have come across an ODI report which suggests that we are having sorry, I've forgotten the name. I'll give it to you. The report suggests that we have as much as 137 Chinese vessels fishing in Ghana.
I see.
I usually don't want to say Chinese vessels because our laws forbid foreigners from fishing.
Okay.
So we have these Chinese vessels have Chinese affiliation. I don't want to go by it because these vessels are registered in the name of Ghanaians. So they have Chinese affiliation. And I understand that Ghana has the largest registry of Chinese vessels outside China.
Wow.
So,
but that's a testament to the lack of enforcement. Major weakness in our enforcement.
That is our problem. If we really want to address overcapacity in fishing, then there is the need to manage the resource. If you have to manage the resource, then there should be a comprehensive fisheries management plan, which I have said that the Commission has begun the process. The draft has been shared among the stakeholders. So hopefully we will come out with another fisheries management plan. There is the need to look at conservation and restoration. Now, recently, artisanal fishers peacefully protested to create the necessary awareness that we are in danger. As far back as 2015, the Scientific and Technical Working Group warned that by 2020, if nothing is done, our artisanal fisheries could collapse. Now here we are in 2020, fishermen go to sea but are not making catch. So it becomes more scary, for which reason artisanal fishers peacefully protested. But then you come to the IEU, the illegalities that goes on in our fishing. And the most destructive form is the cycle, which is being practiced in the open, whilst the laws frowns upon that.
For the benefit of our viewers, just tell us what the cycle is again.
Cycle what it is that the industrial vessels, which I am saying they have Chinese affiliation. Other people will say Chinese vessels, but I will always want to say vessels with Chinese affiliation. You know, they have been licensed to do bottom trawl.
Okay.
Artisanal fishers do surface and midwater. Now, these Chinese vessels or vessels with Chinese affiliation, they come within the zone that is preserved for artisanal fishers.
Okay.
And they harvest the fish which they have not been licensed to harvest. They go up there and freeze them into pallets or blocks of fish.
Okay.
And they now sell it to agents at sea who come to the fishing communities and sell it to
resell
them.
Wow.
So what actually happens is that the very fish, the small pelagics, that is a preserve of artisanal fishers.
Yes.
Artisanal fishers cannot have them because the trawlers are harvesting these fish and selling it to their agents, which is against the law. That is the cycle. Now the danger is that they are harvesting juvenile fish, baby fish, in huge quantity. Now, the baby fish is supposed to live and at least also give birth once before the fish is caught. That is what the law says. But the juvenile fish that is harvested,
they don't get to the age of maturity to even.
And they harvest them in huge quantities. So it is a threat. You know, the ability of the resource to reproduce is completely removed. And we have been talking about this. Look, the regulator. We are not in normal times. Now they are depleting the resource. Over 2.7 million Ghanaians depend on this resource. How can we sit down for few trawlers to deplete the entire resource and collapse the artisanal fishery? So do something about it. And that actually called for the peaceful protest.
I'm going to read something to you. I've just seen something online. It's an article that says here, a Chinese-owned trawler has been relicensed, and I want your reaction to this, has been relicensed to fish in Ghana, despite being caught for illegal fishing twice and failing to pay its fine. In June 2019, the Lurong Yuan Yu 956 was apprehended in Ghanaian waters with illegal nets and undersized small pelagic fish on board, the staple catch of the canoe fishers. They've been relicensed. What's wrong with us?
Good. The law says that when you commit an infraction like that, you are supposed to be fined $1 million.
Yes.
When you redo it, then your license has to be revoked. So if we have this trawler perpetuating this illegality, you know, by going with small mesh size, it's against the law. Now, if you go with small mesh size, then it means you will harvest juvenile fish. So harvesting of juvenile fish is also against the law. The next thing is that you were licensed to do bottom trawl. And you have harvested small pelagics, which is a surface and midwater fish. Then it means you fished in a zone
that you shouldn't have fished. So this is like multiple layers of crime. That is being committed.
And the law says that do not license such a vessel. Revoke that license.
The story goes on to say the full fine of $1 million was issued, but the vessel owners refused to pay. And this happened in May 2020. The vessel was caught again for almost identical offenses. Despite its clear track record of illegality, the vessel has now been licensed to fish again, whilst it's waiting a further hearing.
That's the situation we find ourselves. So that's why I always say that
this is all sorts of madness going on here.
The commitment to fight the
So what's the ministry doing about something like this?
You have to be, speak for us. Ask them. Now, why is it that the resource is collapsing? But the very actions that has to be taken to halt the collapse and reverse the collapse is not being done. Now, fishers recently protested against this cycle. And you know what? They are saying that, I heard the minister saying that, cycle is not a problem to the fishermen. If cycle is not a problem to the fishermen, why is it that in the 2020 budget, paragraph 718, government stated it there that we will ban Saiko this year. If it is not a problem, why is it in the budget?
Yeah.
Now, the senior minister has referred to Saiko as Galamsey at sea.
Okay.
And he once promised that he will use his office to fight this illegality. The vice president is well informed about this illegality, which is driving the collapse of artisanal fisheries. Why is it that the regulator is not showing that, demonstrating that commitment?
So we have some messages coming through, and Jasper Kujo Akindele says, the main problems, I believe, is the illegal foreign vessels that have been depleting our resources for time immemorial. The government is looking on unperturbed for ages, and I believe the Ministry of Fisheries are in connivance with these illegalities.
Yeah, so that is the situation. So as I was actually saying, if we really want to address overcapacity, then there's a need to look at conservation and restoration. That will mean we have to stop this cycle now because it is depleting the resource. Again, we will have to look at livelihood issues. In our fisheries, and especially in small-scale fishing, artisanal fishing, there's a need to have voluntary compliance.
Excuse me.
Voluntary compliance is key. But the point is that the fishing that we do in these fishing communities is a livelihood activity. But it is our culture, it is our life, and that is what the fishermen do to survive. So
how are we going to win this battle?
One, that's what I'm saying, that we need a comprehensive fisheries management plan.
But we had one, 2015 to 2019.
It was not implemented. So the commitment to implement it should be there. Cycle should be stopped because it doesn't address the issue of conservation and restoration. We need to look at livelihood issues of artisanal fishers. Can we diversify the activities so that they can have some other sources of income to survive? Then we need to talk about the participation of the people in the governance of our fisheries. And that actually calls for the co-management. And this co-management document has been there. I think the last time the sector minister said that cabinet has finally approved the co-management. And that is a plus for the ministry to have the co-management policy approved. It should be rolled out so that we can have the co-management scheme. The co-management scheme ensures that the ordinary fisher now participates in the governance of the fisheries.
Of the space,
And once you participate, then you are able to understand the issues, share your thoughts, your views, and they are factored into it. And that helps everyone to do his or her bit to support whatever actions that have been taken. So the co-management issue should be looked at. Livelihood issues of artisanal fishers should be looked at. Government should invest in fishing communities. Government should invest in fishing communities so that you diversified the livelihood sources or livelihoods of the fishing community, and then they can now cooperate when it comes to issues like that. When government was about implementing the close season, how tough it was for the first year. But then the second year, there was this engagement and fishers embraced it. And I want to tell you that the fishermen overwhelmingly supported the move. The reason is that this is the only resource that we have and the only resource we depend on. So if for once the regulator says that let us do this to save the resource, it serves our own good. So fishermen, bought into that idea and observed the close season religiously. It is unfortunate that, whilst we were off, the trawlers were moving here about and still landing cycle fish.
I was in Mumford a few months ago, and I noticed the breakwater that was being built there, and then I found out, that there's a plan in place to have about 10 breakwaters along the Atlantic coast of Ghana. How much impact will that have on this conversation that we are having, if at all?
Yeah, it's fantastic investment, and we are even calling for more. That every fishing community must have a proper fish landing site. Yeah. It actually promotes the business and then addresses post-harvest losses. Okay. So it is perfect. Okay. Except that we need to address these issues simultaneously. Look, we are having the fish landing site improved at a time when we are not making catch.
Yeah, so it doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so we appreciate that, and I want to commend government for that investment. Yeah. And we even think that, you go to areas, Ekumfi, for instance, they do not have proper fish landing sites. Yeah. So you always have to travel to Axim or Western part, those kind of things. So having those landing sites is key. We appreciate it, and we commend government for that. But the commitment to fight what is actually driving the collapse of our fisheries is equally important. Okay. And one of it is that let's enforce the law. Let's stop this illegal transshipment. Okay. The harm that these vessels are perpetuating and driving the collapse of our fisheries. Let us stop it. And do you know what? The government has actually stopped this before. Okay. What do you do? By our laws, these trawlers are supposed to land at designated ports. Okay. They are catch. Okay. In our case, Tema and Takrady. All right. What is happening is
these are the trawlers?
Yes, these are the trawlers. Okay. Now, when you direct them to land at the designated ports, then you can now inspect their catch and inspect the GS that they are using. Okay. But if you allow illegal transshipment as it is done, then you are not addressing the problem. So if the regulator really want to save the industry from collapse, direct the trawlers just as they were directed in 2018 to land their catch at designated ports. Yeah. Then they will not come and harvest the small pelagics, which is for artisanal fishers. No, because once you harvest them and you come and land it at the port, you'll be apprehended because you have gone against the law, and you'll be fined 1 million. Yeah. And to be fined 1 million is not. So if they are made to face the law as it is, they will not be perpetuating this. Okay. But now what is happening is that they harvest these small pelagics, and then at high seas they freeze them, and then they transship them illegally onto adapted canoes, and that is what is landed in Elmina, Manford, and Axim. So the regulator should go ahead, government should go ahead, the president should go ahead to direct the trawlers to land their catches at the designated ports. Okay. And once they begin to land their catches at designated ports, they will be compelled to stop harvesting what they are not supposed to land. Okay. And that will addresses the issue of the dumping and those kind of things that people are talking about. Okay. I think the commitment to fight this should be there. And once the commitment is there, we'll be able to, overcome this challenge. Okay. Until we do that, the sector is collapsing. Okay, so there's a message here on one of our Facebook viewers, and it says this is coming from Jan Yeboah, Andy Jan Yeboah, and says I think you need a more comprehensive explanation of how things are done to curtail the illegal fishing. Contact the minister, Honorable Afolekwe, is doing a whole lot for the sector. She neither sleeps nor rests. It goes on to say the Nana Addo government and the ministry are doing everything possible for the fishers. All equipment for fishers are being provided to boost livelihoods, especially during the closed season. Okay, now, as it stands, looking at what the challenges that we face so far and what Nana Kweigya has taken us through, Andy, it looks as though enforcement is more of a challenge than anything else, because if you remember the earlier article that I read, I mean, somebody has just been relicensed after flouting the law. A fine has been issued. They've not paid the fine, and they've been relicensed. It calls a lot of things into question about our commitment to actually enforce the law on this matter. Your final words, final thoughts. And that is that. So our argument is that yes, government in several ways is doing something or certain things. But the point is that the resources are about collapsing. The Scientific and Technical Working Group warned that 2020, if nothing is done, it will collapse. And that's what is actually driving this collapse is the illegal transshipment, the cycle. Yeah. Fishers have protested. Fishers have issued series of press conferences. Yeah. That government, please ban this cycle to save the industry. Yeah. Because our artisanal fishery is collapsing. Why have we turned a blind eye onto what is actually driving the collapse? Yeah. And doing other things. Yeah. I don't mean to say the other things are not important. No. To give fishermen premise as we are having is good. To give us outboard motors as we are having is good. But our major problem is that the resource is collapsing. Yeah. The industrial vessels are driving this collapse. They are scooping everything, including juvenile fish, and selling them as cycle blocks. Okay. All right. Go ahead and stop this. And once you stop this, you will save the industry. And we can now derive maximum benefits from the landing site, from the outboard motors, from the premise. Because we buy the premise. You go, you don't make a catch, you lose.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We've been speaking with Nana Kweigya, who's an executive member of the Ghana National Fishermen's Council. And Firebombo Dialogue is supported by the European Union in collaboration with CARE and Friends of the Nation, as well as Oxfam.
Hi there. We hope you enjoyed the show.
Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share with your friends.
This is Breakfast Daily on Citi TV.
Join the Breakfast Daily team Monday through Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10. Join us for breakfast daily, only on Citi TV.